You guys, living in DC for 20 years, I think it's changed me. This year marks my 20th year here, and I have seen the good, the bad, and the truly baffling. It is not all cherry blossoms and charming row houses. So, can you make this work, or will this city chew you up and spit you out? So here's my honest, unfiltered take on what it's really like living in DC. So I'm Melissa Terzis, DC Real Estate Mama. I help people buy and sell homes in the DC metro area to include Maryland and Virginia. Here on YouTube, I talk about all things real estate. So if you're buying or selling and you want to chat about anything, feel free to message me. I'm going to put my contact info up if you want to chat. All right, so starting off here, I don't know the lens from which you are viewing, but I do need to tell you one thing that I actually did not realize prior to moving here. DC isn't New York. I know that sounds silly. This could just be me. But growing up right outside of New York City, I thought all cities were like New York City. So that was how I initially approached DC. Now, after living here and after extensive US travel, I realized how wrong I was. In my 20s, I used to be disappointed if I visited another city, thinking it was going to be just like home. I know. What do you mean? They roll up the sidewalks at 8 p.m. I know now. I'm actually happy that other cities aren't New York. Took a while to get there, though. So the premise of DC not being at all like New York City could actually go one of two ways for people. It could go the whole snobby, well, New York's is the best city in the world way, where they look down their nose at everybody who isn't New York. Or it could go the whole, well, thank goodness that this isn't New York and we don't have Pizza Rat here. I know, Pizza Rat was the best. So I used to be in the first camp. In fact, after 10 years of living in DC, I actually got a job offer in New York. And as soon as I got that phone call, I started to cry. And I said to the hubs, I'm finally going home. I actually didn't care that like his job, he had to figure that out. He was like, I'll figure it out. I know. But anyway, then I didn't take the job. And here I am. Still here. Hi. So that actually has to say something about how I feel about living here. I was given the chance to go home, but I didn't take it. So I'm going to take both sides of the New York comparison for 1,000, please, Alex. This video isn't really going to compare DC to New York, but I am using it sort of loosely here as a barometer. Let's start first with why DC is awesome. All right, first thing, DC's got ethnic food on lock, you guys, with one exception. So if they make it, it's here. Pretty much every single ethnic food that you could want is here. I often talk about Ethiopian food because that's one of my absolute favorites, but there's also Afghan, Argentinian, Brazilian, Belgian, French, Greek, Indian, Korean, Laotian, I don't know how to say that, Middle Eastern, Peruvian, Spanish, Turkish, Thai, Vietnamese. I actually went back and alphabetized all of those for you because I want it to be very organized. I also missed probably a couple dozen other foods that are here. One exception, though, is there is Italian food, but this is not New York, where you're going to find it on every block. And Rare is sort of the place with like those red and white checkered tablecloths with food that really tastes like your Italian grandmother made it. If you want that, though, you would have to go out to the burbs or to Baltimore, so not too far away. Second thing that's basically awesome about DC is the green space here and the walkability, loved universally in the DC area. The parks and trails here are pretty awesome. Many of them connect and go from one trail to another, so you can bike or walk to George Washington's house in Mount Vernon from DC. You can bike or walk from Arlington to Purcellville, Virginia. You can bike or walk from Georgetown to Bethesda, and eventually that trail is actually going to be extended over to Silver Spring and Rock Creek Park. Kind of amazing. Maryland generally seems to preserve more green space than Virginia, but both states have their share on parks and greenery. And this all leads sort of into walkability, which is a critical factor that people who live here use to evaluate their lifestyle and their quality of life. In New York, you also walk for miles sometimes, but that's usually sidewalks, and there's really nothing that I would say is peaceful about it. All right, the next thing that's pretty awesome here is the airport proximity is ace, you guys. So I've never lived 13 minutes from an airport, but yes, at 5 a.m., I do live 13 minutes from the airport. Otherwise, it's more like 25 minutes. The other places that I've lived for decent amounts of time, New York, Atlanta, Miami, it was always a colossal production to get to the airport. I just find it super easy here. You can even take public transportation and hop on the metro if you want. Next one that is so awesome about DC is the weather. So I'm fine with it, but you need to take what I am saying here with a grain of salt, my loves. I like heat. I don't like humidity because then my hair frizzes and that's not good because nobody wants to see what that looks like. Actually, I'm going to show you. But if it's 99 degrees with no humidity, I am outside without sunscreen and without complaint. Okay? I hate winter. If you hate winter and snow, the only months here to really dread are January and February. For 8 great months we get from March to November, I'm fine. I will take it. Again, growing up outside of New York, I had zero idea that skies could be blue. Have you ever seen the sky up there? It is freaking gray all the time. No, thank you. Next up is DC has jobs. Well, there's a world of opportunity in New York across many industries. That is obviously a draw for why people go there, right? If you can make it there, you can make it anywhere, as Frank says. But New York is not as recession-proof as DC, although our current administration appears to really be testing that. We may not have the fashion industry here, but there is a lot of tech here. Stats actually say that 70% of the world's internet traffic comes through Northern Virginia. How is that, you guys, for a claim to fame and job security for the techies? Next up, walk left, stand right. Genius. I know DC isn't the only city to do this, but it is incredibly efficient for navigating the long metro escalators. I feel like other cities just don't have this down. All right, and then number 7, awesome things, the inner loop and the outer loop. Also genius. So describing a highway that loops around a city in a circle seems to be kind of difficult for other cities. In Atlanta, they called it the perimeter. And it was always when you were hearing traffic reports, it was like perimeter northbound from this road to this road, there's a backup. And you would have to decide which road comes before what and which northbound was that? Was it traffic on the west side of the city or was it the traffic on the east side of the city? Here in DC, it's the inner loop, which travels clockwise, and the outer loop, which travels counterclockwise. Super easy, very easy to figure out. You'll always know where you are, and if they're talking about traffic on the radio or wherever you're listening, you'll be able to understand exactly what you're headed into. All right, so that was a lot of fun, but now I want to move into why DC sucks. So we do have some sucky things here. Number 1, and this will always be number 1 on my list, every single video I talk about it, you guys, because every single day I deal with it. Maryland drivers are indeed the worst. I have had some of you all watch these videos from halfway across the country, halfway across the world, and then move here, buy a house with me, and say, oh, wow, you were not joking. No, you guys, I am not joking. I have no clue what is on the Maryland driver's test, but it is nothing like what the other 49 states and DC provide on their test. I can assure you of that. To Marylanders, left lanes are not for passing, they're for creeping along like a snail. Also to Marylanders, parallel parking actually looks more like perpendicular parking. And then don't even get me started on 4-way stops. For Marylanders, those are a disaster. They stop, then they just go. They don't care. This happened to me yesterday. I almost got T-boned because somebody just stopped and then kept going, and they don't know what taking turns is. Or if you both get there at the same time to the painted line, it's the first person to the right. And if Marylanders miss their exit, you all better be driving inside a padded bubble because they will cut across 4 lanes of highway so that they don't miss that exit, and they will leave a flaming 27-car pileup in their path. Never mind that GPS these days will recorrect, and it's not like you're going to get lost in the woods and never find your way out. We have GPS now. They don't care. I have never seen anything like it. Each and every Marylander who learned how to drive in Maryland is a menace. You've been warned. Okay, you guys, number 2. The local DC, Maryland, and Virginia governments are all drastically different. DC has a lot of problems. The city has had a lot of fraud, a lot of corruption in their politics. And I'm not actually even talking about our national government. I am talking about the city. We have a mayor, and then we have an 8-member council with 1 member representing each of 8 wards. Many council members over the year have gone the way of corruption. Even past mayors have. Not our current, but even past. Then they get reelected. It's absolutely bananas. Is it because people just don't know or follow the news? Nobody knows. Currently, the Ward 8 council member, born and raised in the ward that he says he loves to serve, was caught on video taking bribes. Did I tell you it was on video? Then he was reelected. Make this make sense, you guys. This guy was the first elected official to say a few years ago that the crime had gotten bad enough that we needed the National Guard in DC. And then when the National Guard arrived, he walked that right back and said, no, we need to take care of our own issues. Okay, yeah, like he took care of his own bank account at the expense of the people he serves. Not cool. The deputy director of DC's building permit department was terminated after it was discovered that she was working remotely at two full-time jobs, fleecing the city of not only the salary paid, but a severe lack of attention that was given to the business of building permits, resulting in a ton of properties with severe issues. Thankfully, that person's been replaced by somebody lovely who happens to be my neighbor, and she is kicking ass and taking names over there. Virginia and Maryland do not really have such problems, at least not to this extent. There are more layers of government in the states, right? Because you've got towns, you've got cities, you've got counties, then you've got state. I mean, there's just more checks and balances. There have been issues of fraud and corruption, but I feel like it's nothing like what happens in DC. Next. DC's filled with people who are really high-strung and also inconsiderate. It's true. There are a lot of lawyers here. There are a lot of doctors and a lot of tech people. Pretty much any class president of any high school anybody went to, they're also here. These are people with serious jobs and not a lot of time for fun, witty banter. Everyone's always in a hurry. Out in the wild, people are not particularly friendly. You won't be able to make idle chatter with somebody in a slow line at a store. They don't want to talk to you. In New York, they'd be suspicious of you. In DC, I think they just don't have time for you, or they think they're better than you. If somebody actually smiles at me here, before they even open their mouth, I will say, "You're not from here, are you?" And they're always sort of embarrassed because they'll be saying, like, a little bit taken aback, like, "Is it that obvious?" And it's like, I mean, yeah, it is, but it's not because, like, you're wearing something we don't wear here. I mean, it's not like that here. It's more just because you're nice. People are nice. They're just not from here. Then they move here, and eventually we all just turn into, I don't know, earbuds in, heads down, whatever. So, and those nice people may have a hard time understanding how inconsiderate people can be. My one huge complaint about this is driving in the city. If somebody is being picked up by a driver, and I'm looking directly at you, Uber driver from Maryland and Virginia, they stop in the middle of main roads and they will block traffic to get to their people to pick up for their ride. They don't care. Even when it's rush hour, even when there are plenty of spots to pull over out of the way of traffic, it's actually maddening. You can beep at them and they just don't care. They don't. And you'll have to wait behind them. Next, DC is a great place to own property, except DC is a terrible place to be a landlord. So rents only go up here, but the property rights extended and afforded to tenants for property they don't even own is astonishing. There's even cases where somebody could sleep on your couch for 2 weeks and they have rights to property. Wild stuff. It is a travesty to property owners to trample their rights in such a manner, but the power that DC holds over property owners is actually outrageous. You have to have a rental license. It involves an inspection. Inspections are actually done by members of the public who they train, read people with no skills who go through a 1-hour Zoom call and then a checklist, and then that's considered trained. And then they set them loose on all of these properties to say, tell us whether or not they can get a building permit or a rental permit. They are paid per inspection and they are incentivized to fail perfectly rentable properties. They want you to file a business license tax as well. It's a whole money grab thing that's frankly insulting. So the rental voucher program, also a disaster. I found myself on the phone this past summer advocating for a client who has a tenant with a voucher in his property. The new director is actually from another state. When I spoke with her and I talked with her about the things that were happening in this particular situation, she said she's never seen anything like this before, where tenants have such strong rights. it really puts the property owners at risk. And she said she sees it. She said she's trying to make some changes, but you know what? Everyone starts drinking the Kool-Aid. Soon enough, I'm sure she will be too. Next, DC's crime was notorious? We don't know yet. Notwithstanding the deportations, I'm going to say it. The National Guard coming here has definitely sent many of these little street punks and carjackers packing. I know people didn't like it because they believe that DC should be self-governing and we should fix our own problems. I too believe this. I 100% believe in what our founding fathers set up for DC to be completely independent of any state and to have its own authority. The problem is the mayor has a lot going on, you guys. People criticize the crap out of her, but I swear to God, that woman probably works 20 hours a day. And I just don't see how she can solve all of these issues. Everything falls under the mayor, to include the police, the schools, and the city has a lot going on. The bad part of the National Guard was that they focused downtown, to be honest with you. Like, there were neighborhood commissioners in the rougher neighborhoods that said, we didn't see the National Guard in our area. And had they contacted and connected us, we actually would have told them, like, here's hot spots. Here's where the trap houses are. Here's who the dealers are. Here's the corners you need to pay attention to. I actually think that was a huge missed opportunity in DC. This could have gone a little bit better than it did. So you guys, DC is generally less sarcasm and wit of kind of old school New Yorkers with their tough as nails attitude, but you are going to be surrounded here by intelligent people doing really intelligent things. And that's pretty cool. I have loved raising my girls here where they have access to so much, a diversity of friends, a lineup of great educational opportunities. Plus, they are very picky when it comes to food and they eat Ethiopian food. It's very exciting. So does the good outweigh the bad? I mean, I believe so. So I try to minimize my experience with the bad parts and I focus on the good. The truth is, while DC isn't perfect, I actually have no idea where it would be better. So DC isn't New York. It's DC. We may not own the motto, if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere, but we do have our own motto that we own. And you want to know what that is? DC is really just Hollywood for ugly people. That's my spiel on DC, my last 20 years of living here. If you guys have any questions, my contact info is coming next.